I was just saying that my part's easy. I'm just here to sort of introduce my two colleagues that are actually running with the technology and running the IT at Port Houston. But I wanted to take a couple of moments just to, first of all, thank the University of Houston for taking on this very relevant topic today, blockchain, especially as it relates to supply chain. In the last year, there's been a ramp up in discussion about blockchain and those applications, how they can translate to supply chain. And we jumped at the opportunity to participate because one of the things that we're very keen on is trying to improve the customer experience at all times and leveraging technology any way we can in order to improve that customer experience by driving velocity, efficiency, productivity at our facilities. That's something that we embrace. Back in 2015, we developed our vision at Port Houston. Our vision is to be America's hub, a distribution hub for the next generation. And when you think about those words, America's distribution hub for the next generation, it really connotates and embraces technology. And it also embraces different modalities, different modes coming in and out of the port. So what we did was, well, what we've always been doing is investing in technology at our gate systems. How do we more efficiently, more productively manage trucks coming in and out of our facilities? How can we better manage that inventory of containers and cargo in and out of our terminals? How can we be more productive and efficient in loading and offloading ships? And that goes without saying. We hold one of the top records in the United States in vessel productivity and in terminal productivity, gate systems, things like that. But when we went out about 2 years ago and we partnered with our friends at the Port of Antwerp, we have very similar outlooks, very similar business development initiatives that we have. We met together. We said, okay, what can we do together? We're both the two largest petrochemical clusters in the world, and we want to be able to create and generate greater value for our customer base. So together, the Port of Antwerp and the Port of Houston, we went out and we visited our top customers, the Exxon Mobils, the Chevron Phillipses, the Caterpillars of the world, and we asked them, look, beyond just providing a really great product in terms of terminal operations efficiency and being really quick to move the cargoes in and out of our facilities, what more can we bring to you to drive value, to create value for you? And overwhelmingly, every meeting that we went to, it was data, visibility, transparency. How can we as a port do something to drive that value and create something like that? So we weren't quite sure what that would be. And then fast forward to last year in around October, Maersk and IBM approached us. They said, hey, we're developing this new blockchain initiative, digitization and blockchain initiative, and we'd like the Port of Houston to be one of the first folks to join on the pilot in the pilot program. So we took on that opportunity. It took some resources from our part, but for the most part, for the last several months, we've been on a learning curve, really trying to understand how blockchain can somehow maybe be a part, maybe it won't, maybe it will, but it is something that we're trying to learn and we're trying to understand better so that the community can benefit in a whole in the long run. Right now, there's a lot of different companies offering their own blockchain solutions. I really took to heart the one statement that I saw from our friends at T Mining, the internet of blockchains. There's so many blockchains out there that we'll see. How that's going to all pan out in the long run. So today I've got two colleagues that are speaking that are going to share a little bit of our experience with the Maersk IBM pilot and maybe share some of their thoughts. The first is Charles Thompson, our Chief Information Officer. Charles came to us a couple years ago from the city of Houston, where he was CIO. Prior to that, he was CIO for several years with the city of Phoenix, Arizona. And then before that, he had worked in several different leadership positions in technology in the education system. He holds a bachelor's degree and a master's in technology from the University of Maryland. And then following Charles Thompson, I'm also going to have up here Mike Shaffner, our Director of Operations and Planning Technology. Mike, prior to joining the Port Authority, worked for several years with APM Terminals, one of the world's largest terminal operating companies, part of the Maersk Group. And before coming to Houston, he had several stops along the way in Florida, in South Carolina, and finally made his way out here to Houston, where he was the director of operations for the APM terminal here in Houston. So please join me in welcoming Charles and Mike to the forum, to the podium. Thanks.
I guess it's good midday. It's kind of interesting to be the person between you guys and food. But I have two goals for the IT division at the port. One of them is support operations, which the team that Mike leads, that does all the transactions at the port and the revenue they deliver. And the fourth goal of the four is to drive information and cybersecurity into every service and asset. And I'm optimistically cautious about this concept we've been talking about, but I've learned a lot. And quite frankly, you can't hear me? I don't want to have all my P's get enunciated. All right, so I want to do a little history lesson. How many folks remember Netscape? Great product, right? What happened to them? They went away. Did you guys know who Drew Major was? He invented NetWare for Novell, the operating system, and the fifth version that he invented in the early 90s was a distributed open platform based on nodes and shared permissions and data. Sound familiar? What happened to him was the folks around him wanted to productize a platform to sell more servers, more licensing. And he got consumed with the fact that the thought leadership didn't want to get behind doing what was right. So I'm pretty sure a few of us remember the concept of having to have an adapter to plug a certain electronic device into a socket. And depending on the amperage, you had to have a different adapter. You had a drawer full of these things, and then some really smart people got together and said, 15 amps goes this way, and 20 amps goes this way. Just plug it in. My point is, in all this, is that if we do the right thing, listen to what Irwin said. It's really not about the technology we're trying to do. It's about the business need and the problems we're trying to solve. And as a practitioner, you're going to hear some realistic points of view from me, Mike, and other folks that are coming up on the panel. I think that it's really important that we take the knowledge you've heard this morning, and we're here throughout the rest of the conference, and let's do what's right for the industry, because there's so much wasted heat. That's a term Mike tells me because he's in marketing. We waste heat, but my cautious optimism is around I can't plug into 8 blockchains. It's not a value to the port. We're in the middle based on how we operate. But we do have an opportunity to partner and share data that makes the entire supply chain much more productive. I had other comments, but I can't read my writing. So I'm going to sit down and let Mike come up.
Good morning still. Lunch is near. It's a pleasure to have a chance to come share my thoughts with you. My name is Michael Shaffner. I have spent my professional career thus far managing some facet of terminals. West Coast, East Coast, Gulf now, and now the opportunity to work for the Port of Houston. So my thoughts are going to be around blockchain from a terminal operator's perspective. It's my perspective, but I'll be happy to share it. We're currently in a pilot program, and our role thus far has been the source of key information. And that's true for any terminal operator that's out there. The terminal operators are going to be able to provide the key data that is needed to help support any blockchain, regardless of the provider. And some of those sources of information are vessel arrival, vessel departure. When does a container come off the ship? Is it in the yard? Is it available for pickup? Has it gone out the gate? Is it on hold? Who's hold? Shipping lines hold or customs hold? All these key pieces of information that are needed to help facilitate the movement of cargo lies at the port. Okay, and we see the port system as the sole, not the sole, but really the place that you can rely on the quality of data. talk about cutoff times at our gates. There's dates that we're going to allow you to bring in an export, and if you show up before, you're out of luck. Some ports may let you in, but it's going to put an additional cost in terms of demurrage onto that unit. There are dates in terms of last free day. Okay, last free day is when an import comes into the port, the clock starts counting, and if that container isn't removed in the proper amount of time, charges incur. Well, there's multiple last free days. There could be a shipping line last free day. There is a port last free day. Some people count them as 5 business days. Other people count them as 7 calendar days. And then if you're a very influential BCO, you may get 10 days or 10 and a half or 10.3. You get the gist of it. It can get confusing for a trucker to try and come in and figure out, when do I have to get this box out? And by the way, most of the times, if the box isn't delivered out in time, the trucker ends up eating that cost. So we can provide all these data points to the system to help facilitate the movement of cargo, and that's effectively what we're doing at the moment. We're pushing information out. As terminal operators look to work with this technology, and the terminal operators are going to have to buy in. So what's interesting to a terminal operator? What's going to make a terminal operator say, yes, I want to participate in your blockchain? And that is, of course, we want information back. So today, I can tell you that there's 200 containers booked for a vessel that's going to discharge in Antwerp, okay? I know that much, but that's about it. I don't know when container 1's going to show up. I know it's going to have to show up within the window that we've allowed it, but I could have 1 show up, and then I could have 150 show up the next day. And that causes problems for a terminal operator. When a container shows up at our gates, we run through a system of different requirements in order to hopefully place that container in the most optimal point of rest the first time inside the facility, right? That's going to be near where the ship's going to work. It's going to be grouped with other containers of the same weight. It's going to be grouped as other containers that are going on that ship. The port of discharge is going to match. All that has to match up for us to get it into the right spot. The problem is, all we know when that container shows up at our gate is what's in the yard now. So we don't get the opportunity to take in the data that says, hey, this is the first container showing up for this vessel that's going to go to Antwerp, right? And put it over here. Well, what we didn't know is that there's 50 that are going to show up day 2, and then 150 show up day 3, and then the balance will show up on day 4. If we knew all that, we could probably allocate a larger area for that and get them all together, which in turn results in higher vessel productivity. So ships get in and out quicker. It relieves from a traffic management perspective. If we put it in the right spot the first time, then we won't be interfering with over-the-road trucks as they come in to get other containers. If it goes to the wrong spot, the over-the-road trucks aren't allowed in that spot while we're working in there to load the ship. It causes a problem. It causes congestion. So again, what is the terminal operator interested in from blockchain? And we're not seeing this yet, but I offer it out to the group for thought. We want information back. We want to know when cargo is going to arrive our facility. There's mechanisms that are out there in the industry today, appointment systems, right? But that's kind of burdensome on other people to tell us what's coming. We integrate with dispatch systems, so we get API calls from dispatch systems that tell us when stuff is arriving. But again, that information is, the source of that information is still manual and is still subject to great error. So when we look at blockchain, when I look at blockchain from a terminal operator's perspective, it's that feedback that keeps us interested. And in the meantime, as a Port Houston, we've got a responsibility to share information and help facilitate the flow of cargo. And we're happy to participate, and that's why we're doing it thus far. So let me save the rest of the comments for the panel here, and we'll go from there.